All right, let's get right into it. On April 25th, the White House Correspondents' Dinner became the target of a truly unprecedented assassination attempt. In this explainer, we're going to reconstruct exactly what went down, step by step. And just to be clear right up front, we are relying strictly on the official facts, the hard evidence, and the actual filings released by the Department of Justice. No speculation, just the facts.
Cold Force, friendly federal assassin Allen. I mean, wow. Before a single shot was even fired, that is exactly how the attacker signed off in a scheduled email to his family and his employer. It's incredibly chilling, right? It really sets this dark, deeply calculated tone for the entire attack we're about to unpack.
So, Part 1. The suspect. Who exactly is Cole Thomas Allen?
Well, first off, he wasn't a local. He was a 31-year-old guy living in Torrance, California. On paper, maybe nothing really stands out. But investigators uncovered a pretty grim reality here. He embarked on this highly calculated, cross-country journey, fully armed, with a very specific plan to target the president and senior administration officials right in the heart of Washington, D.C.
In the immediate aftermath, Donald Trump addressed the press, calling the attacker a sick person, a very sick person, and mentioned he was likely a lone wolf. That immediate reaction really highlights just how fast federal authorities had to pivot. They literally had to rush to raid Allen's apartment in California just to confirm if he was in fact acting completely alone. Moving on to Part 2, the arsenal. Let's look inside the weapons cache.
When the DOJ finally secured the scene, they recovered a seriously lethal setup. We're talking a 12-gauge pump-action Mossberg shotgun, a Rock Island Armory .38 caliber semi-automatic pistol, at least 3 knives, plus additional paraphernalia linked to the attack. You know, you absolutely do not carry all of this by accident. It paints a very clear, disturbing picture of maximum intended damage.
But honestly, the most terrifying aspect of all of this might just be the slow buildup. If you look at the timeline from the court filings, Allen legally purchased firearms in California way back in 2023. Then he added to that arsenal in 2025. And finally, on April 25, 2026, he transported those weapons across state lines for this attack. So this wasn't some spontaneous split-second outburst. No, this was literally years in the making.
All right, Part 3, the climax. Here is exactly how the attack unfolded.
So, how did the perimeter actually fall? Well, step 1, he booked a 3-night stay at the Washington Hilton venue itself, which gave him immediate proximity. Then, step 2, at around 8:40 p.m., he approached the terrace-level checkpoint. And then, things escalate incredibly fast. Step 3, he physically ran right through the magnetometer carrying a long gun. Step 4, he immediately opened fire before being quickly subdued. He bypassed all that standard security through sheer violent force. Now, what you really need to take away from this specific moment is the absolute reality of this near miss. A Secret Service officer was actually shot directly in the chest, but because he was wearing a ballistic vest, he survived. That single piece of gear is what allowed him to stay in the fight, return fire, and stop a much wider tragedy from happening right then and there.
Which brings us right back to that scheduled email we talked about at the very beginning. I wish I could have said anything earlier. My sincerest apologies for all the trouble I've caused. As he was heading toward that checkpoint, this message automatically sent itself to his family and former employer. He literally wrote his own aftermath statement, totally aware of the finality of what he was about to do.
Okay, let's look at Part 4, the aftermath, the federal charges and the official response. So the immediate physical danger was over, but man, the legal hammer dropped instantly. Cole Allen is currently facing some incredibly severe, multi-layered federal charges. We're talking about the attempt to assassinate the President of the United States, the interstate transportation of firearms and ammunition with intent to commit a felony, and discharging a firearm during a crime of violence. The DOJ has meticulously stacked these charges to reflect every single phase of his premeditative plot.
And FBI Director Kash Patel really didn't mince words about what law enforcement managed to prevent here. He stated that the evidence is abundantly clear that Allen traveled to D.C. for the purpose of assassinating President Trump. Patel emphasized that they actually prevented a mass casualty political assassination. So this wasn't just a targeted hit, it was designed to be a catastrophic event.
Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche echoed that sentiment with a pretty stark warning of his own. He said, "Make no mistake, deranged attacks on our elected officials will never go unpunished." His statement really underscores the courage of those officers on the ground.
Because of them, we are talking about a thwarted attack today rather than a massive national tragedy.
But stepping back from all of this, a heavily armed individual still managed to violently charge a magnetometer at literally one of the highest-profile media events in the entire country. And that forces us to ask a really tough question. How will this near miss reshape presidential security protocols moving forward? Because understanding what almost happened here is absolutely crucial to anticipating the future of political safety. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning the facts, and I'll catch you next time.